welcome to Delta Lodge Outdoors. I am your host, Julius. This is a podcast to not only entertain, but to occasionally teach new things. I may be the only one learning, but at least we're going to have some fun trying to do it along the way. Thank y'all. Hey, everybody, bear with me. My voice is going to be a little off and have some coughing in it. Seem to be under the weather. Today's episode, we're going to talk about round 2 of the reintroduction of wolves in Colorado. I know the first episode I did, some people got in their feelings about it, but it is what it is. I'm not a huge supporter of it. I know other people are. I know other people that aren't. So it's, we're just going to dive into what it is and isn't. And the impact on the ecosystem is going to be the biggest thing that, we look at. Is they once roamed freely all across Colorado, but, over years, pressured in hunting has changed, which has made the whole balance of the ecosystem change. So they've moved back in, and there's a bunch of stuff you can look at where the mapping of where they are at now. They released 20 the second go around. 15 of them were freshly new caught from British Columbia. The other 5 were 4 pups and a female that they had caught prior for. They said that they wasn't part of the animal the depredation on the cattle, that it was the male that he was killing for the food for the female, the pups, and he ended up dying in transport or something. Whole other story there. So just different things I've been looking at, and it's the Cattlemen's Association, they're not really okay with it because it's putting them in a bind. It's like they're frustrated because it's going to create issues within their herds and everything that they have to deal with for their cattle and everything. So that's the biggest concern that I have, is what's it going to do for the cattle operations. Then you get into how's it going to affect the wildlife. If you look at Yellowstone area where they put wolves back 20 years ago or longer now. It's completely changed the system. The elk are not where they were. The herds are not as big as they were, and so on. The wolf reintroduction remains controversial. Ranchers worry about livestock and losses. Hunters express concerns about declining game populations. To mitigate these conflicts, conservationists are working on strategies such as compensation programs for ranchers and educational initiatives to foster coexistence. Striking a balance between conservation and human interest is crucial for a sustainable future. Well, what that's saying is basically we're going to give you some money to shut up and go away and quit being loud about it. A wolf is an apex predator. They're going to completely change the ecosystem wherever they're at. But there's good and bad. When unchecked, large herbivore populations, they overeat the vegetation, they lead to soil erosion, they degrade the water sources, and reduce biodiversity. So if you look at it from that point, let's take Texas, for example, that's overran with hogs. There's nothing to keep them in check, so if we turn some wolves loose in Texas, this is just, I'm not saying do this, I'm not saying this is what I would do. Some people take things out of context. But with what you're reading, like if they're gonna keep the herbivores in check that are creating population, soil erosion, decimating the vegetation, degrading the water sources, why not put them in other places? Because their existence, and it was the red wolf was all through a lot of the southern states, and there was some timber wolves in certain southern states. I believe Texas had them. I know Louisiana had what they call the red wolves. Now I think the only group of red wolves, I believe, I could be wrong. Sure, somebody correct me. I think is in North Carolina now that are in the wild, and they're on like an island or something. So they're kind of secluded. But if you're gonna fight for the side that they need to be there, then okay, then we could use them all throughout the United States to help with the issues we have. Because they're going to cut down on soil erosion, overeating of the vegetation, degraded water sources. Then we get into the effects that they have on the vegetation and other species. With the presence of wolves, elk and deer exhibit changes in behavior. That's what I was talking about earlier. They're gonna avoid overgrazing areas and be more mobile, which means if they were in an area that was just they stayed in this general area because it was easy food, easy everything, they're going to leave that area because that's where they're going to be hunted at the easiest. Because if it's big open meadows, there's nowhere for them to go. The wolves can catch them, so they're going to start avoiding those areas. So this allows the vegetation to recover, particularly along riverbanks, meadows, fostering habitat restoration. You'll they're talking in Colorado, seeing more willows, more aspens. The range of wildlife, including beavers and songbirds. So they're saying that it'll help the beavers and the birds. Scavenger species like eagles, foxes, and bears benefit from wolf kills, increasing food availability and supporting a diverse ecosystem. So with what I'm reading, more wolves, more beavers. So then we're going to be like, oh, the beavers are cutting all the trees down that the wolves are helping grow back. I mean, it's just a double-edged sword. I find it funny, because reading this, and it's just a little thing I typed up, pulling stuff from different things, and I'm going back reading over it to y'all. It's, you can be on either side of this argument. Ranchers worry about the livestock losses. Like I said, hunters express concerns about declining game populations. We can look back and see where we've put wolves and see what happened, do a study and see what happened on both sides. And you can, from a conservationist point, you can argue all the good. From the hunter and, let me rephrase this, most hunters are conservationists. But from a hunter and rancher side, you can see the bad. The return of wolves in Colorado marks a significant step in restoring the state's natural heritage. The impact to the ecosystems is profound, influencing not just prey populations, but also vegetation and other wildlife, and even the landscape itself. While challenges exist, a well-managed approach can ensure that the wolves continue to play their essential role in maintaining the balance. With that, let's see if I can find it real quick. They've already started moving around, and they're in a lot of places that they're moving, they're looking, and because I've been keeping track of it. They have the new Colorado wolf map shows expanding territory in additional counties as population grows. Originally, they let that, I think it was 10 or 15 out. Some got killed. I think they're at a total of 29 now that they know of. That's not counting any litters that was had since last year's, because the only litter they knew of was the male killing, the depredation kills to feed the female and the pups. And they ended up catching them. The male died of something. And they turned those back loose also with the 15 they just caught. So that was the 20 they turned loose this time around, plus what they already had. They're saying they know of 29. If you look at you can look it up. I'll see if I can add the link in here, but it was on the Denver Post. It was the Colorado Wolf Map shows expanding territory. They're all the way into the Aspen area and everything. It's so you're going to end up, give it a couple more years, and you're going to have wolves in areas that they didn't think it out. Um, so, and that's the White River acreage up there is a couple million acres of public land and refuge and everything. They're going to run amok through there in the next few years. I think there's a lot of ways to do stuff. This was voted in by most people that voted for it. The first 10 years won't be affected by it. All right, we had some technical difficulties. I think we've got it fixed now. I really have no clue what the hell happened. It just decided it didn't want to record anymore in the middle of recording. So trying to pick back up. I think the last thing I said there was most people that voted for the reintroduction of wolves will not be affected by it for the next probably 10 years. It's the ones that didn't want it that are being affected by it now because of where the placement is and everything. I believe we have the research to look at it and see that it may not be the best of ideas, but I also understand putting stuff back in and making stuff back that we as humans have overdone. I come from, like living in South Louisiana. Every time somebody, like especially the area I lived in down there, usually you can tell when like Grandpa died because the place gets split up and turns into a huge subdivision. And then, like over the years that's happened, like the area I'm from down there, went from like 25, 30,000 residents, like 130,000 in a 20-year span. Now everybody's bitching about coyotes. You fucking took their homes. What do you expect? So there's a fine line, and I know there's a big difference between coyotes and wolves. I'm not trying to say they're the same. What I'm using it is there's a fine line of you taking their habitat and then bitching about it. So do I think that wolves should be reintroduced? I think there should have been way more. I'm sure there was a lot of studies on it, and then we can get into efficiency on money and everything. I think the ranchers are to have more leeway than what they do on, but then you also you got ranchers that are going to abide by it, that they're only going to shoot them if they're in the middle of attacking their animals, their herd of cattle, horses, llamas, whatever the hell it is they're ranching. Then you're going to have other people that just, anytime they see one, they're going to shoot it just because. And that's the fine line that you got to walk, is what type of people are we dealing with. And we can't lump everybody into the same thing. Just like everybody in the cities didn't vote yes. So we can't hate on each side needs to stop hating on each other about who voted for what and who didn't vote for this, and work and figure out a solution, because it's going to turn into a huge problem. Montana actually has where they can hunt them now. Another I want to say, I was reading the other day, Minnesota or Michigan. I could be wrong. I've read a lot of shit from a lot of different things. I could be wrong where it's at. If I am, somebody please correct me. Is trying to create a season for them. Because, yes, it's great. You reintroduce them. These 20, they said they know of 29. It was like, they released like 5 or I think it was 7 males and 8 females in this last run, or 6 and 9, something like that. If every female was to have babies, so let's just say they did 5, and each one has 4 or 5, you've doubled the size of the group in 1 year. I haven't done a lot of research to know if wolves breed twice a year, once a year, because they're like dogs, they'll breed twice a year. If that's the case, you're looking at, after the first year at 29 now, you're looking at having 70 or 80 within the first 2 years. That's a lot of freaking, and I'm not saying everyone will survive. Let's just go to 25% mortality rate, which I don't know what the mortality rate would be, but 25%, and they had, each litter was 5, and they had 5, and let's just say they had 4 litters. That's 20. 25% of that is, 5? Yeah. So if 5 died, that means 15 would live. And that's just on a small batch with a high mortality rate. So I feel like you're about to see a lot of wolves in the next few years in Colorado. And I think the number goes over 100 in the next 3 years. Because they're at 29 now that they know of. So they're probably higher than that. But let's just say if they're at 29 now that they know of within the next 3 years, I don't see why it won't be 100 or more. So by 2028, so you have 20, 25, 26, 27, we get into 28. So the start of their 5th year, I think, would be in because they put them in last year at 24. So the 24, 25, they put them in winter of 24. So you got winter of 25, winter of 26, winter of 27. I think by spring of 28, you're looking at 100 head of wolves or more in Colorado. Obviously, I'm not an expert on this. It's my opinion. But just, we'll see. I know this one's kind of been all over. Like I said, I feel like shit. And you can hear it in my voice probably. I tried to keep from coughing on the air. I think I'm going to wind this one down. Would love to have y'all's opinions on the Coyotes and their introduction and what y'all are thinking and not thinking about it and what all you think it's going to affect. Julius Craig, Dutch Lodge Outdoors.
From the woods to the water, from hunting to fishing, in the delta to the mountains, all about the outdoors. With a bow, fishing pole, or a gun, always having some fun. In the delta to the mountains, all about the outdoors. When the hook is set, we know it's gonna be the best one yet. It's fun to be in the outdoors.